What's up?
What's up?
How you doing?
No glasses today?
No, I'm vastly unprepared for this podcast today. This is great. I just got done with a workout like 10 minutes ago. Uh, Getting back into my skin, being at home, even after only being on tour for 2 days or 3 days or whatever it was.
Can we discuss, to kick this off, your approach now to traveling when it comes to luggage? Because I am so enamored and impressed by your choice of living right now.
Yeah, I don't carry any luggage. I have no luggage for tour for nothing. I put pair of black pants on. I wear the RSQ skateboard kind of skinny leg skateboard pants, black skateboard pants, and then white Hanes or Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. And I throw an extra Fruit of the Loom t-shirt in my bag. I throw toiletry items in my bag, in my backpack, and a hoodie, and then my computer and Bible and whatever else I travel with, right? My iPad and journals and whatever. And that's it. I just throw it all in a backpack and go. I work out in my street clothes. I look like a psychopath. I did today too. Even in my house, I worked out in black pants, white t-shirt. Like unless I'm going for a run, like if I'm going for a run, I'll put on some shorts and like 'cause I'll probably sweating it out pretty good. But if I'm just doing weight stuff and calisthenics and I'll just work out in my street clothes, man. And then because I mean, look, on tour, I've got in my wardrobe case, I've got hair clippers if I need them. I've got I have access to toothpaste and shaving stuff if I need it or whatever. So that's kind of the thing. It's not like I'm like an absolute psychopath, just a complete psychopath, you know. I just man, I look, dude, I don't like anything complicating my life. Like my the only way I know how to describe it is my brain is a circus, like all the time. All the time. Like I can't shut it up. It will not shut up to a maddening point. And so anything that I have to think about outside of whatever the fuck is going on in here, driving me crazy. I just need simplicity all around me. And so there's just something about not having to check a bag at the airport. You just check in on your phone, walk into the security line and go, get on the plane. Don't have to wait for baggage when you
Yeah.
land. I don't have to think about anything but my book bag, which I forgot the other night. Like when we got done with the show in Michigan, Barry had to bring my bag into the bus because I completely forgot that I even had that, right? Uh,
Well,
it's
I
it's a
walked
very
into the dressing room and I was like, "Where's his bed? Like, where's his bag? Like, where's his luggage? Like, normally I wheel it out after your massage if you get one." And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah
that's right. He doesn't bring one anymore."
yeah man I just crave this simplicity, man, and uh eh, because I mean look, like this room like is full of gear and stuff, and like I love having access to all of this equipment. Like if I need to do anything, I've got it within, you know, anything that I need to do to make an album is within 50 feet of me at all times, not even 50 feet, 30 feet of me at all times. But it's messy, and that part drives me crazy. The clutter of it drives me crazy. Like if I had the ability to have a completely clean room with just speakers and a mixing console and nothing else, a chair. And then when I wanted it to be, when I wanted it to, when I needed the stuff, it could all just appear. That's how I would have it. But that's not, uh, that's not really in the realm of possibility. Maybe I can come up with something like that. This isn't a temporary room, but it is a temporary room at this studio. Eventually, I'm going to build a larger control room onto this studio, uh, probably in the next 2 years. And when I do that, I guess I could kind of go into it with that idea of like, how do I keep everything hidden away and
Right.
clean when I don't want it to be out and then out when I do? Maybe it's like a drawer system that built into the walls where you just pull everything out and you push it all back in or something. I don't know. But yeah, man, I just have this desire for not even desire. I have a an absolute need for whatever I can keep simple to be simple, like zero complications. And they'll kind of spin me out, man. Complications will spin me out sometimes. Like, uh, I don't know what part of my brain that is or what part of my you know, part of the DSM that is that I'm dealing with, but uh it almost like panics me to like have mess, and I like order to things.
But which is like
Unless
super
unless it's my mess, and if it's my mess, that's okay. Like if I if I make a mess, that's fine. You
right,
know, it's like, but I don't know. That's where that comes from, man. I just don't like. I have no I have no need to carry my external life with me everywhere. I'm carrying my internal life with me is messy enough. So
right. Well, see, sometimes when we go hiking or not including the times when you wander off into private property and get shot at, but
yeah,
like in
right.
times when you're out there in that situation, you're very which way do we go? Let's just go this way. Who cares? We'll figure it out. Like
Yeah,
that when it comes to that type of the unknown, you're just head first all the time,
right.
which is very
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that is. I like adventure. I like discovering new things. I like going past boundaries that I haven't gone to before. Like that kind of stuff is fun. It's terrifying sometimes. Not terrifying is a bad word. That's too much. It's scary. It can be scary to like any kind of boundaries, musical boundaries, physical boundaries, whatever it is. In the Lord of the Rings when Frodo stops and says, "This is as far away as I've ever been from home," and it's like, well, uh, I like that feeling of I do have that feeling actually physically like that when we're touring. It's like if I go further than I've ever been in one direction from my house, I actually think about that. I'm like, oh, this is the furthest I've ever been from home. Um, it's that's what I like about the ocean. We've talked about that, pushing out there and like, how far out can we go and do and
Yeah,
there's sort of a tinge of danger to it. And it's I don't have that kind of issue, man, but like when it comes to like look, dude, I try to wear other things. I will make an effort to wear other things. And it I can do it for a couple of days. One thing I will do if it's not a white t-shirt, I'll just put a hoodie on with no shirt on underneath it. I don't mind that. There's something about that that feels okay to me too. Just a hoodie, like wearing a hoodie like a shirt. Uh, but I don't like a hoodie on over my shirt. It feels uncomfortable. I don't like it.
interesting.
There's a comfortable thing to this too, man. This feels the same. Like there's no uh I don't like anything that feels uncomfortable. Uh that's one thing about like when we wear the suits on stage, and I know there's been rumblings about maybe trying to do that again at some point. Like that's really uncomfortable. That's an uncomfortable. No, I actually do like if I'm going to dress up, I'm going to dress up all the way. Like there is no like I I often say dress for church, not Sunday school.
Yeah,
Really dress. If I'm going to dress up, I'm going to put on a three-piece thing, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So if I'm going to put on a suit on stage, there's going to be tie, vest, shirt, jacket, nice shoes, like whatever. That's what it's going to be. Um, that doesn't mean it's comfortable. Like if I have to have for my daily life, I have to feel physically comfortable and emotionally comfortable about what I have on. So that just comes down to I have one thing that I wear. I wake up in the morning, dude. When I look, the last we were on tour for 4 days or 5 days, whatever it was, I never fucking changed shirts or pants. Like I would, when I get in the hotel room, I just take my pants off, my shirt off. I sleep naked like that. And then they're all on the floor when I get up, I put them back on and I keep going. And then if we're on the bus, I just sleep in my pants. And that's what I do. At home, I'll put on pajama pants or something, but uh, on tour, I just don't want to have to carry anything extra. So I'm not gonna really gonna probably a pair of pajama pants is gonna fill up too much space in the bag.
yeah,
So, and I'm only going to wear them on days off when I'm by myself in a hotel room. Like, what's the point? I'll
right.
just, I'll just sleep naked.
When you mentioned this is a drastic 180, but when you just mentioned Lord of the Rings, I saw recently that they're bringing it back to the theater remastered and the extended versions with the stuff that was cut out. And my cousins and I were talking, we're like, we love that movies and stuff, and obviously reading like books like that or Chronicles of Narnia back in the day and stuff like that. But do you think the success of the Lord of the Rings franchise now I'm just talking the movies here. Obviously, if you know it, it's Christianity. It's very Christian based.
Yeah.
Same as Language and Wardrobe, Chronicles of
Yep.
Narnia, all that stuff. And I does part of the success come from the fact that people love a good story, or is there an attachment to the idea of these Christian beliefs, good versus evil? Kind of a lot of stuff we talk about is that what people really resonates with people. Because I don't think a movie
Yeah.
like that today or a franchise today can be created like that without people saying, "Oh, screw Christianity. How come there's not a different take on this? Why is it got to be about Christians and stuff like that?"
Well, I think that if you do it right, no one knows that's where it came from, right? I
Okay,
mean,
right.
that's the point. I mean, dude, look, the story I've been writing for the graphic novel for a while, it's tinged with a lot of those things,
Yeah,
and because it is, that is one of the, if not one of, if not the most, one of the greatest stories about good versus evil. I mean, that's what it is, and uh, I think that again, if you do it correctly, you don't ever want to browbeat people with stuff, man. I think
correct.
that's why I think honestly, man, like, and look, we've talked about my religious leanings or whatever on this podcast, but I often I don't enjoy being beaten about the head with things when it comes to faith, you know. Um, I and maybe it's because I'm going to beat myself about the head enough about it, but um uh when people like nuance, people like I'm trying to remember this quote that I heard that what is it? It was Monty Python. It was John Cleese talking about Monty Python, and he said that as a group, Monty Python gave their audience credit, meaning there was a presupposition that of their audience's intelligence. They just assumed their audience was intelligent, and so they could get away with certain things and do certain things. So before they even started, they weren't dumbing anything down. They were assuming that their audience was smart before they began.
I love that.
And I think that and he has a better, there's a quote of it, that's in essence what it is. And I think that if you presuppose that your audience is intelligent, people like nuance. That's what I mean. That's the problem. That's a lot of the problem. And not that I can solve this problem, not that I'm a great writer, but a problem with writing these days is you get beaten about the head with things. You're like, you know, uh, everything is told to you in the dialogue and it's presented to you as you're too stupid to know what we're talking about. So here is what it is throughout the entire story. A lot of new Star Wars is like that. It's like it's what part of the reason why I'm having a hard time enjoying it. There's no nuance in it. When I feel like when a story is well written, and again, I'm not saying I'm the one to write great stories. I know this to be a fact that when you write nuance into your story, let's talk about Tolkien. He was writing from a Christian perspective with his story, but never did he have to tell people that's what it was. I think that if you're a thinker that eventually you're going to arrive at that place with something. You're going to kind of figure it out. You're like, oh yeah, man, this is that story. Um, but also to that point, man, about the type of story it is and why does it work. And you talk about the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. You talk about Tolkien. We can talk about Lucas.
Yeah,
You know, um, those you can talk about the Iliad and the Odyssey, which
Homer.
probably weren't tinged by anything with having to do with Christianity, right? Could what was that? But that was pre. No, that wasn't. Was how old is that?
That's AD, right?
Was Homer? Was Homer
Uh,
AD?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay. I guess so. Again, I apologize for not knowing that,
I'll look it up.
um, the Christ, a lot of Christianity was based in Greek literature, like not Greek literature, right? The Greek language. So
So
maybe.
that was published in 1488.
Oh wow. Huh. I thought it was earlier than that. Um, but it was written earlier than that, right?
Uh, so it was written 8th century BC.
Okay, there we go. That's what I
Publication
thought.
date was 1488. Published in English was 1598.
Yeah, so eighth century BC, so he was way before that.
Right. So for
So
about 500 years, it wasn't in English.
okay, so but even so even Homer's works not being from a Christian perspective, human beings like a certain type of story. They like a certain beat, and there are certain stories that are great stories that don't have that. But I think that the ones that make us feel whole, like when you're done with the story, that's let me. Thanks. ADD's got me this morning. I'm jumping all over the place. Let me finish this. When something makes you feel whole, when the story is finished, or an album is finished, or whatever it is, that's what draws you back into it again. I want to experience that again. And if a story is done really well, it won't leave you in a state like where, like if you're a drug addict and you're chasing that high again, but you'll never get it. If a story is done really well, you'll feel fulfilled and whole every time you see it and hear it or listen, watch it, listen to it, read it, whatever. And it's that circle, the hero's journey. Just type in the hero's journey, go to images in Google, and it'll show you the circle of like a story circle, plot circle, and how you start with the status quo and this this character's uh, is living a certain life, and then um, then they get a call to adventure, and then they're on this precipice of like, they deny the call to adventure, and then they accept the call to adventure, and then they, somewhere along the line they meet the wizard and the princess and and you can and it's very interesting how you can go around this circle and uh, all of these events that happen in this hero's journey that end up in the new status quo, which is the new life that this hero has now from where he started with the old status quo. That's the journey, right? There's growth. It's a story of growth. I think all great stories are a story of growth. Um, Now, growth for whom? Something it's now
Yeah.
trendy in Hollywood to, or in story writing to, to write. And I fall into this trap too. We've talked about this of like wanting to write some sort of twist or thing that has to happen, and it's not what you expected, and the villain's going to win this time, and or the villain's going to win, period. You know, like a story like Seven, right? Where it's like, at the end, it's
What's
like,
in the box? What's in
yeah,
the box?
yeah. That doesn't make that I mean, that's still a really compelling
Yes.
story, but it's not fulfilling. Like when you finish that, you don't feel great, you know. But I think horror is not supposed to be that. And horror and suspense sometimes aren't supposed to be that. I think we're talking about more adventure stories.
Yeah. Well, even looking
Um,
at Stephen King, you create these vile rapists, killers, murderers, demons. Yet the reason why I love him so much is that even at the darkest times, it's to be super bright at the right time and to eradicate the evil.
yeah,
I just, yeah,
yeah,
to your point, I don't like if something's gonna be dark and gloomy. Like I'm trying to think of uh like the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, where he's carrying the last Bible, going through this desolate post-apocalyptic world, and the whole time you realize he's just a blind guy in the book's in Braille. But it's like truly like world's ending, like it's terrible, and this the beacon of hope. The
mm,
Bible's this hope. Like I mean, it's more on the nose there, but I don't know. Like I don't like if there's gonna be pure evil, there has to be pure good too. And I think that's the only way to
yep,
balance it out, right? Like you can't have even in the darkest times of someone's life, there's light somewhere. Now, whether they see it or they look for it, I mean, maybe that's part of the problem. People aren't looking for that light either.
yeah, man. I mean that's you know, not to beat the depression dead horse because I know we talk about it a lot,
Yeah,
but that leads me in. I mean, I just think about that. It's like, man, when I'm, you know, I we've talked about it recently. I've been in a super dark place, and man, when I'm in those when I'm in that, man, there is not a lot of hope. There's not a lot of light. I don't see it. I know it's there though. This is the difference, man. It's like I know that if I can outlast it and I can beat it, then there's going to be this light that opens up, and things won't be as bad. Like I've been past 2 or 3 days, I've been okay, which has been nice. It's been a good change. Um, and so you have to know that these times exist, that the good times are there and they're going to be there. Um, but you're right. I mean, that's the one of the things in the hero's journey is the all is lost moment, right? The all is lost moment comes, and you see it in every good story, comes just before the victory over the evil. It's like it's just before it's like it 10:30 on the clock. If you think about that, 12 o'clock is the resolution, right? Or the new status quo. This resolution, the new status quo. The resolution would be 11 o'clock, and then new status quo would be midnight, right? Um, and so you have these all is lost moments. Like there is no way out of this. With Frodo, it was in Mordor with when Gollum, has you know what did he bit his finger off or whatever,
Yeah.
and like he's and he's gonna you think he's gonna go after the ring and he's gonna go into the lava and it's just all is lost moment. There is no coming back from this. And then this revelation happens. This they are able to overcome it. Luke Skywalker is the death the trench run and Darth Vader's behind him, and you know he's turned on his targeting computer, and uh all the other pilots around him are gone and he's the only one left, and that's the all is lost moment. And uh I think about these things, man, when with the mental side of with my mental problems of like, I seem to kind of feel like I'm in an all is lost moment more than I should. But you know that like that victory is going to be there eventually. You just have to kind of outlast it and outrun it. I always talk about outrunning my depression. If I can just stay in front of it. Um, so in storytelling, man, that is you're right. The 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 problem is darkness, and I know we touch on this a lot, but darkness, it always seems more pervasive and always seems more present and always seems more powerful and always seems uh like the default mode of everything is darkness. Um, but the reason for that, man, is people don't choose to walk in the light very often at all. That there is a choice to that. Like you can walk in the light, like you can look at, you know, and it's not always fun. But I found in my life that when I do that, and I really make an effort to do that, which maybe I haven't been making as much of an effort lately as I should, that you can beat that thing back. You can beat back the darkness. I mean, there is, you know, look, even if a lot of people say, well, there's more light than dark, and you just have to find it. I tend to believe that it's probably an equal thing, the yin and yang of life. Um, that doesn't mean you have to live in the darkness as much as you live in the light. Living in the light, though, is a lot of solitude sometimes. It's a lot of you know, turning off from what everybody else is doing and walking to the beat of your own drum. And especially when you're a kid, man, that's virtually impossible. I mean, that was impossible for me. I'm sure it was impossible for you. You have more individuality than a lot of people I know, though. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, yeah, you seem like you have a very good sense of self, and you're very content with who you are internally. Would I be correct with that?
Yeah, for sure. Like I have no I don't know. Like, I think that it came more like predominant once the pandemic hit because you had to kind of not only be more creative, but you had to like figure out a way through all this craziness, right? And I think this kind of where I'm at now, where I'm just like, I'm just unapologetically gonna be myself. I do not care. Now, when I say that, I think a lot of times when people say that, it comes off as very like egotistical. But for me, it's more, I'm gonna be who I am, but the version of who I want to be and what I deserve to be isn't some prick or some mean. He's not homophobic, he's not racist, he's just a good person, right? And I think
Yeah.
sometimes when you hear that from people, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be whoever I want to be. It's like, dude, well, hold on a second. Who you want to be, or have to be, or need to be, or whatever, you still have to be cognizant of other people, right? And I think sometimes that was the toughest thing for me, where it's like, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what I want. Sure, but doing what I want might hurt other people, and I don't want to be that version of myself. So
I
I think
yeah,
that's
no, I see that for sure. I guess what I'm thinking is more like you seem to have more of a an internal default mode that is uh just you're incapable of being anybody other than who you are.
yeah. I don't know how to be anything different. Like I can't. Sure, do I get angry sometimes? Do I get mad or upset or emotional? Sure, but like I can't. I think part of the clock inside me is telling I can't. I can't show that side to people. Well, you and I talk about the idea of you haven't grieved yet for your father. Like, there's a
Right.
reason why you haven't grieved because you have to come off as strong. You're the one of the older men in your family now, where it's like you have to be the strong person that your dad was. So it's like some of that stuff is like built in where it's self defense. Where I'm like, I can't externally show a lot of the stuff, but I gotta always be the same person because I don't know who's looking at me or needs an extra motivation or having a super shitty day and they see me weebling along. So it's just like that. I don't know. I think you're
Well,
right. It's just tough to explain.
like I grew up and I still am this way. And it sucks to say it and it's embarrassing to say it. I'm getting better at it for sure. But um I grew up I guess it comes from just being picked on as much as I was and sort of terrorized in a way. And that's a
Right.
strong thing to say, but like I'm not saying that people were terrorists and terrorizing me in that way, but I'm internally that's how I felt, right? Um and so I've got this super like I really want to fit in. I really want people to like me. I um when I was a kid, that manifested as what is everybody wearing? I got to wear that. What is in, I have to, what's everybody, what's the new slang thing everybody's talking about? Or what's I would fall prey to those things. And I still do to some extent. I've gotten way better about being myself. Like we talk about what I wear and I've really, really, really had to work on the fact that my personality isn't super outgoing or anything. Um, I was in the airport in Chicago getting ready to fly back home the other night or the other morning, and uh, dude, by the way, this is a side note. The extent to which some of these eBayers are getting now with getting us to sign stuff is out of hand. I'm in the terminal at my gate, and this dude walks up to me. Hey, man, can you sign these albums for me? And then he's like, Can you sign these guitar picks? Can you sign these pictures? And I'm like, like, is this eBay stuff? And he's like, Yeah. And I'm like, uh, I said, what, like,
Where are you flying?
what are you doing? And he's like, well, first of all, he was super nice about it. I mean, I have a tendency to get annoyed at eBayers, right? But I was just like, everybody else in my band had already signed it, so he'd found all of them in the airport, which was anyway. Uh, I I I was like, well, he's like, man, he's like, I got all the student loan debt and I'm trying to pay it off. And I was like, cool, dude. I was like, but just do me a favor. And Barry does this too. I was like, just give a piece of it to charity or something, like something, you know? And he said, cool. But then I was like, well, what are you doing here? He goes, well, I can buy like a cheap ticket to nowhere, get in here and get you to sign this stuff if I know you're in here. And then I'll make back that money plus some on this stuff on eBay. So it's like a business expense to buy a cheap airline ticket, go through security to get us to be able to sign stuff. Anyway, side note, that was a side note. The
We
eBayers are
should
out of
next
hand.
time we
They're out of
fly,
hand, dude.
we should carry like prosthetics, like masks, like different costumes, and change once we go through security and
Yeah.
see if someone can find you.
Yeah, man. He was a nice dude though. He wasn't being a pain. I like the honesty. I hate these
Just
guys
don't
like,
lie. Don't lie.
yeah, don't tell me you're not an eBayer when you are.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. Um, but anyway, I just had to kind of like I could not sign everything he had after that because I was like that game is pretty strong. I mean, if you're buying an airline ticket, a cheap airline ticket just to get me to sign stuff, I'm like, okay.
Right.
Uh, anyway, back to what I was talking about personality and wanting people to like me and becoming more comfortable with myself. So this, it's a one-way flight to Charleston, and whoever, so everybody on my flight is coming here, and there was this girl that saw me signing everything, and um, and after I signed everything, she just kept staring at me, kept staring at me, kept staring at me, and uh, so when it was time to get up to go into our, when they were getting ready to board the plane, they were doing pre-board. I stood up, and she's been sitting there the whole time, and she comes over and she starts trying to make conversation with me, and I guess maybe she was interested or something, and I don't know. Um, but she starts trying to make small talk with me, and I suck at small talk, A, but B, it's like in that moment, like whereas maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have tried to like put something on and be like more outgoing and like, I just wasn't having it, man, in that moment. And I was like, I was kind of proud of myself because, and by the way, not like, I mean, I'm very happily married. It's not like I would have tried to do anything.
Yeah,
I'm saying
correct.
I would have tried to have been more outgoing is my point. Uh, but I think I said 3 words to her. And she was like, did they call zone one? Is this zone one? And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, bitch, this isn't zone one. You were just sitting here the whole time, but and I'm just like, no, I think this is pre-board. She goes, it's just so confusing, the way they do. And she's trying to make conversation. I'm like, yep. I'm just like one word answers. Not because I'm trying to be a dick. It's just because I'm like, I honestly, in that moment, now maybe if I had been in a different, it'd been later in the day and I'd been more awake or I don't know. Maybe I would have had more to say, but in that moment, I didn't have anything to say to her. And so rather than me trying to be someone I'm not and trying to come off as outgoing and trying to make conversation, and I was not trying to be mean or anything. I just didn't say much. I just said 1 or 2 words and then just went about my business. I was, that I've grown in that way, I guess. Uh,
If
but
you see someone doing something, I'm trying to think of maybe every time we've been to Europe or like we see some of these street performers or street artists, where if you have the chance to say, "Man, you did great," or "How'd you get started?" Like, are you able to kind of be that person to kind of be inquisitive, and, like re talk to these people, or
no, man, I wish I were. This is another thing, man. I wish I were like that. I wish that I Like people frighten me. Like I mean, at the end of the day, like for whatever reason, I know that sounds stupid, right? But I mean, what are they going to do? Fucking eat me or shoot me if I talk to them? But I, uh, I am
potentially,
so
yes.
I am I have so much anxiety about myself. Not about myself, just inside of me. I have so much anxiety about, um, and it stunts me, man. It stunts me in business a lot. My business relationships aren't good with people because I have a hard time keeping in touch with people because you know, uh, I just do, and uh, I really wish that. I mean, I wonder things. Yes, I'm inquisitive. I wonder about these things, but like getting into the potential for small talk is always there, and it's like, uh, uh, look, man, I'm even trying to, as I've gotten older, like if I feel like I can help someone or I can ask someone a question or something in public, I'm trying to find an example. It's not like if somebody drops something, of course I'm going to pick it up and hey, miss, you dropped this, or sir, you dropped this. But even doing that, like as soon as I know that shit, I'm going to have to fucking say something to this person now. And it's like, excuse me, sir, you dropped this, and I'm kind of making a scene and people around me are looking at me. That makes me wildly uncomfortable. Like even though and
Ooh,
I'm not ever
yeah,
going to not do that, right? But like I just get very like can I do this without anybody looking at me? Like, can I do this without? So when you're talking about walking up to a street performer, or I will stand there and appreciate them.
yeah.
I will stand there and appreciate what they're doing. Um, dude, how about this? Even something as simple as the other night I had my once every 3 year hibachi meal the other night and we were out and you were there. When the guy's like wants to throw shit in your mouth, I'm like, please don't try to, don't even ask me if I want anything thrown. I don't even want to be on the spot like that.
I'm the same way with that stuff though too.
But I just don't like being on the spot. Now,
Yeah.
if I'm comfortable enough to put myself on the spot in a moment, which happens occasionally, that's one thing. But like, don't put me on the spot. And I think that comes back from when I've been because I've been thinking an awful lot about this stuff the last couple of years, trying to solve my issues, right? I think a lot of that comes from school when I was a kid because I was neurodivergent. I didn't really know it. I had no idea why I couldn't excel in school. I was super smart. Like I knew I was smart. I never thought I was a dumbass or something. Like I'd had all these tests done and whatever. My mom had gotten tests done, IQ tests and whatever. And, but I could never understand the concepts. The way the teachers were teaching me, I could never understand the concepts. Very rarely could I understand the concepts, whether it was English or math or whatever it was. So then I get called on in class or something, and I wouldn't know the answer, and I would feel like a total idiot, or I get laughed at because I didn't know the answer, um, or whatever. And I think maybe that comes from that. time of just like wanting to be as invisible as I could possibly be at all times. Um, so yeah, man, I've become more comfortable about myself with that stuff. It's still not easy. I still wish it weren't the way it is. I would love to be outgoing, light up a room, you know. And so, but back to you with this, that's what I love about you is that you seem so wildly comfortable with who you are. Uh, and I look at pictures of you. You were showing us pictures and videos and stuff of you in college, and like, you know, you look like you were exactly like that in college, probably.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if it was I mean, my upbringing wasn't any different than my sister's. I never, all my friends are kind of the same way. I mean, some aren't as outlandish or ridiculous, but I've never felt the need to not be who I want to be, if that makes sense. Like
yeah.
I've never not been in a position where I can't be, but even through military college and all the dumb, crazy stuff in Secret Service, when I'm not working, I was able to just unwind to be myself. And I was always myself, but you obviously have to do it in certain situations where you can't be on the Gaza Strip doing some crip walk next to whoever.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, we did. But to kind of go back, yesterday, I was doing the walk in the cemetery every day. I try and walk like
Yeah.
probably a couple miles, and there's usually a couple of cars parked, but they do the gravestones where they're working. Well, there's one car I walk by at the entrance is parked, and I don't think anything of it. So I'm walking, do a couple laps. I see this guy kind of in the far corner in this really old part of the cemetery, kind of like rocking like the headstones. And like he's in a black t-shirt, he's got like headphones in, nothing really with him. And my first thought is like is this I don't know if this guy's drunk, I don't know if he's mad, but like I don't want him defacing these old gravestones. So I do one more lap and I'm trying to figure out if there's anyone else with him before I make the approach. I get behind him, I tap him, hey man, can I help you? Turns around, it says like gravestone restoration. I know the local company, and he like took his head. He, man, I'm sorry. Like I just normally my stuff's over here, and I look over a couple gravestones away. He's got his whole restoration kit, like sprays and rubs and
Oh, cool.
rags. And so I get talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I work for my nonprofit. Will hire me to go into old towns and cemeteries and kind of restore old gravestones, like take the moss out and kind of like pressure wash like the dirt and stuff, and like getting to talk to this guy was actually super pretty rad because my first thought was I'm at the club this guy. They call the cops because he's defacing property. But
Right.
it's just situations like that where I'm like, I like those stuff because it kind of makes me feel alive a little bit. But picturing you do that would just be like, what are you doing?
Well, so this is why you're good at the podcast thing and I'm not. Like honestly, that's why this dynamic works. You ask me a question, I'll answer the question, but like I'm not good at being the head of a conversation. Like I would never be able to do what you do with Spear Talk or anything like that. Not because I'm not interested. I'm super interested. It's just the way my brain works in a situation like that would be uh yeah, I'd walk up to the guy and I'd say something and then he'd start talking and I'd be like in my brain I'd be trying to find the quickest way out of that conversation at that point.
Right, my
Like
bad.
rather than digging into the conversation and learning something, like I am going, oh God, I'm so uncomfortable. I got to get out of here. It's fight or flight. Like I got to go. I got to go. I got to go. I got to go. Um, and that's probably why on stage is so uncomfortable for me too, man, because I think I am sort of a fight or flight on stage as well. Like, okay, I got to do this. I have no choice. But when it's over, when it's done, and I can't wait to get on the bus, right? Um, Signing autographs after show. That's another thing for me. It's like some nights I'll go out and do it, and most nights if there are fans around, most nights I will go do it. However, there are certain nights where I just don't I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have a conversation. It's not that I'm a dick. It's not that most nights I get on the bus and I'll even if I feel like that, I'll be like, man, those people are out there. Go out there and sign for them. It'll be quick. But I'm not saying I go out there with a personality, man. Sometimes I go out there and I'm signing and it's just like smile and do the thing, and I can't be, you know, as outgoing as I'd like to be.
And to
Um,
your point, like, what more do you? Now, there's some fans that are just super toxic, taxing, don't really give a shit about the personal feelings or of the band. Like they don't treat them like humans. And sometimes I'm just kind of looking at how much more do these people have to give you? These four guys gave you 2+ hours. If there's a meet and greet or something before they did that, and it's
Yeah.
like you're not owed this extra time after a show. And when these guys are out here, be grateful. Some of these times, these
Yeah.
people just take advantage of it. They're just drunk. They're grabbing you. They're trying to take stupid selfies. It's like, guys, girls, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, like yeah, I mean it really sucks too, man, when you see people that that make, make those comments like, oh, I tried to do this, but they were assholes and they wouldn't do it's like
You
you've
have
made a
no
lot
idea.
you've made a lot of leaps to get to asshole. It's like, how do you know what we have going on? How do you know that you know uh look, yes, we talk about the fans being the boss and we owe the fans everything, and that is true. That's not a lie. Um, but man, on tour, like most of the time, I'm waking up at 8 in the morning after going to bed at midnight, right? I'm usually in bed pretty early. I get up at 8 a.m. I've been up all day. I've and another thing that comes with the ADD thing for me is like if I have something important to do later in the day, like I'm stressed about it all day. So on a show day, I am thinking about the fact that I have to play a show later all day. I can't relax. Like Zach can go ride roller coasters and eat funnel cakes and go to the mall and do whatever on a show day. Like I can't do that stuff on a show day. A show day is like I'm in prison almost. Like and a great prison, but I put myself in a box for the day where it's like
Yeah,
everything I do hinges around the fact that this thing is happening later. Um, so it's mental preparedness and then workout and physical preparedness and eating a certain way and all the way up to getting on stage, playing and being outgoing for 2 hours, which is not my default mode, right? My default mode, the guy I am on stage is a part of me, but it's not my default personality, you know. Um, so I've expended a lot of emotional energy all day, and especially on stage. And then I get off stage, and what people don't understand is when I get off stage, most of the time I've got guests or people that we have to talk to after show who have been at the show. And so now I'm spending another hour plus talking to friends, family, or other guys, friends or other guys in the band's friends or family who we know, and giving them time and asking them how they are and being social in that environment. And so by the time that I walk out to the bus, I'm really spent, man. And um, you've got people yelling at you to come over and sign autographs or do whatever or say hello. And there's just certain nights, man, where I just don't feel like it. It's just like I've done all I can do today. Um, and then there are other moments, but I will have to say this, most of the time I'll get on the bus and I'll go, man, give me a Sharpie. I got to go out there and do it. And I don't go out there with I'll go out there with a great attitude. If I'm going to go out there, I'm going to go out there and do it. Um, but the the problem fans for me are the ones that are if you use your kids to get to me, that pisses me
oh,
off. Like
the worst.
I I I love the fact that there are kids who love our band, and that's different. But it's a palpable thing that you get from a parent who is using their child to get to you, right? Even if the kid is a fan, it's more about the parent than the kid, if that makes sense.
Correct.
That and I will pay attention to that kid and I will give that kid my all. But the parent, I can just kind of like, I'm just sort of, I'm gonna smile in your picture, but you're a piece of shit. Um, uh, and then there are the ones that show up at 3 o'clock to stand around the bus and try to get you to, and then are still there after the show. They want to talk to you 5 or 6 times, and it's like, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you, but I I'll give everyone a hypothetical here on this podcast. Imagine waking up in your house to people beating on the side of your house, because that happens a good bit. If we're parked on a street or something, we have to be like that. But if we're in a arena or something, that doesn't happen. But uh, and then when you get out of your bed to go to the bathroom or to get a cup of coffee, You have people instantly from the second that your feet hit the floor screaming at you about, come here, hey, 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 can you do this? Hey, hey, Eric, come here, hey, hey. And you're just like, give me 5 minutes, please. I got to take a shit and I got to get some coffee and just give me a second, you know? And then as you're walking into the bathroom, there's someone there requiring you to show them your pass so you can go to the fucking bathroom. It's a different life. I'm not complaining about the life we lead. I'm just saying that people don't think about the fact that like that's our home. Like our daily routine is our house. It's like being in our house and even though the outside of our house changes, the inside stays the same, right? The inside of the bus, but like or imagine going to your job and just having people, hey man, I just need 5 minutes. Hey man, I just need 10 minutes. Hey man, and it's like, and this is during the day. I'm not again. And then at the end of the night, they're still there. It's like that kind of stuff I find a little off-putting and strange. Um, and again, there are parents that will do that with their kids. They'll bring their kids to the venue at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 9 a.m., you know, and hey, 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 he has something for you. He wants you to do, and sometimes that is the case. Sometimes the kid really does have something they want to, and that's again, this is a touchy subject because I don't want people to think that I don't appreciate the fans or I don't appreciate the kids. Fuck, man, I love seeing the kids, and I will give the kids all the time in the world. It's when you have that parent that is pushing the kid out there, and you can tell that the parent wants the accolade for it. The parent wants you to pay them attention.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it's about. That bothers me, man. That bothers me a lot. Um, but so it comes down to I think where we were going with this originally is bandwidth and personalities and being ourselves. And look, if I were to be selfishly myself, if I were to be totally myself and be selfish about, you were talking about that earlier about somebody being, I'm going to be myself. And well, that can manifest itself in different ways. Somebody can be like, I'm going to be myself. And this person's just an asshole. So they're going to be an asshole to
Correct.
everybody
Right.
or, fuck everybody else. I'm me. And, well, if I had that attitude, I would just never talk to anybody. I
Right.
wouldn't give the fans any time. I'd go on stage and just stand there and just fucking play my instrument and not give any effort or energy or anything if I were just going to be myself. Um, but that's not what we do. We have to, as people, you have to honor who you are as a person, but then learn how to exist in society as yourself, knowing that you're going to have to there are going to be concessions that you're going to have to make to not all the time, you know. I mean, like I said, I have a certain my gas tank gets to a certain level of like, okay, I've been as social as I can be today. I'm getting ready to walk into that this week. Kelly and I are going up to the U.S. Open up in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and her mom lives up there, and so we're going up there for the golf tournament. I got a couple of my NASCAR buddies have parties that we're having, so I'm going to be
Oh
having to
yeah.
be so I'm going to be having to be social uh the whole week, and I don't know how I'm going to do with that. I mean, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to go be social, and then as soon as that social thing is over with, I'm going to lock myself in the room. I'm going to get away from everyone as
Now I
fast as I can.
wonder, what if you say you weren't Eric Bass musician? Say you became you were that one summer your dad you clicked it off. You became a huge contractor, and you do architecture and stuff and playing with wood blocks and whatever. Is it because the fact that you think your friends or these friends of friends only want to talk to you because of who you are, that there's that puts an extra weight on it? Like if you were just a successful contractor building houses and stuff in the area, and people were you're going up to the same weekend, would it be less onus on you to be a version of yourself you don't want to be?
Well, first of all, I don't look at anybody nobody that I keep in my friend group do I think is
Okay, it's just the
like no, there's none of that, man. Like
okay.
I don't because I can smell that. You get a sense of that when you first get some notoriety, you don't realize it. You don't have a good sense of it, and then
Well, it feels good,
eventually,
right?
well, but no, but not. Yeah, Yeah, it always feels good to have people
Right.
want to talk with you, but then eventually you get a sense of who is genuine and who is not, and who's there for the real deal, and who cares and who doesn't, about that sort of thing. And so none of my friends, like none of these people that I'm going to have around me this week, are like that at all. Uh, well, Regan Smith is one of them, right? Regan he's a NASCAR driver, and now he's the pit reporter for Fox Sports. I
Yeah.
think he does all uh, but dude, I've known that again. Like I know him less as a race car driver and less as a reporter than I do just as him as himself, right? So, and I think I'm probably the same way for him. Like we don't it's not like that, right?
Yeah. Who cares,
Our,
right?
fr our friend Dave von Klausberg, who's sort of the connector there. I've known Dave for 20 plus years. Uh, he doesn't care. Tommy Pecker, Tom Orth doesn't care. My friend Steve I go fishing with doesn't care. Rickert doesn't care. The guys in my band don't care. It's like you don't care. It's like those are the people that I like to have around me is that. So uh now, I mean, that's that has nothing. So, but in social environments, so let's take it that way. So I don't know who's going to be at these parties, right? I don't know who some of these things I'm going to, and there'll probably be people there that will be interested in what I do and will be interested in the fact that I am there and that I am who I am and whatever. But that's different, man. Like that comes with the territory. That's like I'm going to talk to you, even if it's cripplingly difficult for me to try to, even if I'll probably say all the wrong things. The small talk thing, we've talked about this. I will try to be as I will try to engage with you as much as I can. But at some point I'm gonna
Now,
have to
what if
just
this person came up to you and was like, "Hey, I just saw you on a podcast. Like, I know who you are, but like, I had an incident too with orbs. I watched the Bledsoe episode. Like, could that, like, if you guys bonded over a discussion like the Bledsoe or Greer or some paranormal type stuff, is that more conducive to you feeling kind of like dropping your shoulders and actually having a talk conversation where,
only in a conversation setting, like something like this. Like if I were in a room with somebody or just hanging out with them and
okay,
they wanted to get into that conversation, but at a party type thing,
when people
man,
drinking and talking loud,
yeah,
yeah, interesting.
I mean, I can talk about the details of something like that. I can't get in depth with it in something in a situation like that. Or here's the other thing. Part of the, something else about me is like if I'm interested in something and I'm in a certain mood, uh, I can bore people to death with that shit. Like maybe they're not into it, but I am, and I'm gonna like tell them everything about whatever this thing is that I love. And I can just see at some point this glaze just happen. It happens
Alex's
with
comment
dude,
yesterday, I'm like,
dude, that shit happens with Brent, man. He and I'll be sitting there talking about something, and I'll be because he and I talk off like on days off. Generally, Brent and I get up on a day off. I'll sleep in, and he sleeps in. Brent sleeps roughly till 2 o'clock. I'll probably sleep till I'm usually up a little before him, but not much. 1 o'clock or something. And then he and I'll sit on the bus till 5 or 6 and just talk about stuff going on with the band, about life stuff, about whatever, music, whatever, comedians, whatever we're into. And there's certain times, man, when I'm going on and on about something and I can just see
oh,
like all the color has left his face and he's just like he is completely like he is thinking about something completely different at this point and I put him to sleep. I will put people to sleep when I talk. When I'm really into something and I'm because a lot of my interests probably most people aren't going to be interested in those things. Um, just like I could not be less interested in pop culture stuff. I could not be less interested in
you know
whatever's
a
on
lot of
T.
it though.
Well, yeah, but I could not. But I'm just saying, like like your TMZ headlines.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care, man. I don't care about like I'm more interested in a person than in what they do. So um like if hypothetical like hypothetically I met I've never met Post Malone but let's just say I met Post Malone, right? Like I just want to I could sing you maybe one Post Malone song.
yeah,
I'm more interested in like who he is as a dude, right? As a person. Like I'm not like
correct.
I want to I want to know I want to And that's why I guess I don't have a lot of friends because it's like if I get into a conversation with someone and it's just surface level stuff, you know, then I'm going to check out really fast. I'm going to be nice to you. We're going to hang out. We can hang out all day, but I know that I'm never going to talk to you ever again, probably. So peace out, you know. But like, let's say I met Post Malone and he and I started talking about orbs, or we started talking about spirituality, or we started talking about music or songwriting and what we love about it, and you know, I have a tendency to probably stay more friends with that person at that point, you know, and to continue to engage with them. Uh, but I don't I wouldn't want to meet Post Malone because he's Post Malone. I could care less about that. Like honestly, like in fact, I am probably here's the thing. I'll be honest with you, man. And this is maybe kind of shitty of me in a way, but like I haven't really fostered as much of a friendship with Jelly as Zach and Brent have, right? Because for me, it's like unless there's an organic connection there, which there he's a nice dude, man, and we're like he's very respectful, and we fucking have a great time, and maybe maybe we'll write some songs with him, and I'll get a better relationship with him at that point. But I mean, I'm friends with him, right? I can see him and talk to him and whatever, but like, uh, I don't have an in-depth friendship with him. And I think I keep people like that at arm's length because for me, it's like, I'm not just going to be friends with this person because they're somebody
Correct.
famous or somebody, like if I end up becoming really close with you organically, then that's great. I never want to be seen as the person who is friends with somebody because of who they are, and I think that I think maybe I'm conscious of that, maybe more conscious than I should be of it. And I think maybe it's kept me from having friendships with people. Um, that like I look at my friendship with Ben Bruce and the fact that like that was like 1,000% organic. Like he was around the band and I saw him around the band. I knew who he was uh, prior to he and I becoming friends. Like I'd speak to him, he and his wife, CR. I'd see them at like side stage at shows or whatever's, they'd be coming out to watch us play and the interesting thing is, man, is like I don't really remember how we became friends. We just
CUO.
did. Yeah, I guess maybe it was, man. Somehow, yeah, I do remember what it was. We played, we played Rock and Park on the Attention tour. That's when Josh was playing with us, and their bus was parked next to ours, and I walked into the bus and I, yeah, and the other thing too, is I'd become friends with Sam, the bass player, and
Cam's great. The drummer,
James.
James,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
all great. I love every one of those guys.
yeah. But I walked in there, man, and he and I just hit off a conversation, and then we kept in touch through pandemic, and then he moved to Charleston, and I don't know, man, we just became really, really close friends, and it's like I just that's cool with me. That's fun. That's great. That's awesome. And uh, but I never want to be friends with somebody. I never want to. I guess maybe it's the opposite of what we were talking about. Like I never want to be the person that's latching onto somebody because of who they are, or what I think they might be able to do for me, or you know, um, and that's probably why I'm bad at business at the end of the day, because a lot of business, especially the music business, is making connections and going, hey, we should work together on something and we need to do this together and we should, you know, and I'd rather just form a bond with somebody whoever that is. I don't care if it's again, I don't care if it's Post Malone or if it's Post Malone's personal assistant, right? It's like if I form a friendship with Post Malone's personal assistant, that's a win for me. I don't need to be friends with Post Malone.
Right.
You know, if I form a friendship with Post Malone because it's genuine, then I love that. You know, uh, I guess I've never been somebody that what they call them star fuckers, right? Like I don't want to be friends with all these people because they're famous. Like
Yeah.
if I'm in a situation where I can grow a relationship with somebody and it happens naturally, then that's fine, man. I mean, you know, I want to be genuinely good friends with whoever I'm friends with. And so, um, I think that comes from, I mean, like Regan's a perfect example. Like I've met other NASCAR people through Regan, right? I've met like star drivers, and he Regan's a star in his own right. That's not my point. But like Regan and I are just friends. We became friends, and it's like that's who I'm friends with. If Regan were the top driver in NASCAR, then that's great. If he's retired from driving, which he has, and he's a pit reporter, then that's fine too. If he doesn't do pit reporting anymore and he just becomes a stay-at-home dad, that's fine too. He's my friend, and that's what matters. Um, so I just yeah, man, that's how that's kind of I don't know how we got up on that subject, but that's kind of how I choose, my people I'm friends with. I mean, it I just never want to be that person chasing, being friends with somebody because they can do me a favor somehow.
Right.
They can give me some sort of status or something. Um, you know, I love the fact that I look at my list of friends that I've got in my phone, like the really, really close friends that I've got. And, you know, I mean the guys in the band, of course, right? But no one in my friends group really has like some big flex. It's like none of my friends can do me any favors, other than just being there for me and being my friend.
Yeah, just showing up.
Even though a lot of them are, some, I say a good many of them, some of them, you know, I don't value my friends who are in the limelight over my friends who aren't, you know. Um, that's yeah. So
It's I always find it weird, like especially lately, where you look at professional athletes or professional musicians or whatever professional entity you are. We took a step back from like, why can't we be professional humans first?
yeah,
Like why is there always like this idea of you have to be professional at what you do? But when you look at from the ground up, like just being people, why can't we all be professional people first? And then if you want to now be a professional athlete, do that. It just seems like people there's no onus on people to be really good, decent human beings. Like there's no title for it. There's no reward for it. I mean, maybe the reward is that there's karma and you work hard and you're gonna get the job or the goals you want. But why do we look at professional athletes? Why can't I look at like a I mean, you look at someone like Mother Teresa or people, Martin Luther King, people you perceived as good people. Why aren't they considered professional good people? Like, why are we just only care about the professional athletes and musicians and stuff like that?
this kind of goes back to what we were talking about last time about or time before last. I forget which one we were talking about, trying to make a league of thinkers, right?
Right.
You're trying to make a league of good people. It's like
How do you
uh
you can't market it?
yeah, yeah.
It's almost like professional athletes have the championships, musicians have the gold records, platinum records. The legacy of good people is it because we're still is it because they've done something or been in the face of a movement that is perceived as good? Is that what we can equate that to?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I All these gold records and awards and sports records and trophies. And remember what I said last week about I think this is all a test. Like I think that life on Earth is a test.
Yeah.
I think that from what I've grown to understand from people who've had near-death experiences and this type of thing is the overriding thing that a lot of them say is that we chose this. We chose to come to Earth. Like, so we chose to be here. We chose to have this life that we have. Um, Therefore, for me, if I think about that, I chose my life knowing that I was going to have depression, knowing that I was going to have issues, knowing that I was going to be a successful musician, knowing that what are you going to do with that? If you're choosing this, let's just say that's not even true, but like just hypothetically, I think it probably is true, but I don't want to go too far off and freak people out about it. But hypothetically, let's say we all choose this and we don't know that we've chosen it. What's the test? What are we trying to get out of this? I've heard other people describe it as Earth is a school. I thought that was really interesting. It's a classroom. Uh, I think, and I think you have to achieve something to understand this. I think the goal is to throw all of that stuff off, right? To understand how unimportant earthly achievement is. Meaning, not talking about being a good person. I'm talking about earthly achievement, meaning I got all the trophies. I've got all the money. I've got all the gold records. I've got all the chart position records. It's why it's hard for me to plug into that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it's really great for our band that it's easy that Brent loves plugging into that stuff. He loves plugging into the chart positions and this kind of stuff, and it's caused us to be very successful. I'm not saying that those things aren't. It's pretty amazing to look at what you can accomplish, you know. But at the end of the day, for me, to your point, it's like having an award for someone being the best person is the antithesis of being the best person. So if we revered people for being great people and gave them accolades for being great people, that defeats the purpose of the school. That defeats the purpose of the lesson. And the lesson is to become invisible at the end of the day. And maybe that's wrong. All I can do is speak for myself. I don't want to become invisible, meaning if I can help people through what I'm doing, I don't want to be invisible, right? I would love to be visible enough to help people. I'm saying I want the accolades to be invisible and the person to be visible. So, um, doesn't mean that I don't wish for, I'll tell you what I wish for. I wish for respect. I wish for respect of my peers. That's important to me. Um, and maybe that's probably wrong. That's probably very wrong. In the meaning, in the enlightenment sense, it's probably the wrong way to be. Um, and maybe that's one of those things too, man. Now that I'm thinking about my inner self in this way, maybe that's one of those things that's caused me to be more comfortable with just being boring. You know, it's like, no, that's not who I am. Uh, you know, I need to just make the art and to put it out and then just let it melt out into the world and hopefully cause some great reaction in people and yes, we live in a culture and a society where I have to, we need money to survive and we have to get paid and whatever. So that stuff comes with it. Uh but I think that the accolade should be the lesson. That should be your reward is the lesson. The reward is you've passed this test. This is, I think that again, is this a test? Are we on Earth for a test? Are we here to um uh to graduate to a higher state of being while we're here, and then ultimately when we die, we graduate to an even higher state of being, you know? And do we do this multiple times? I don't know. I know I say I'm look, I'm a Christian, right? I've been reading the Bible. I've been getting into that, right? And I understand that maybe what I'm saying is the antithesis of Christianity because it's, but I'm a thinker too. So I think about these things about like, well, what if, we live this life and we grow, and then we live another life and we grow more. We live another life and we go backward 10 steps, and then we have to pick ourselves back up and move forward. Is the ultimate, if that's the case, is the ultimate form of being on earth to be like where I am, right? I've achieved in an earthly sense, have achieved an awful lot. Well, does that mean that I'm at the beginning of my lessons? Like we start at the top where it's easier and we work our way down to the bottom where it's really hard. And these people that you see that are homeless and downtrodden, like those are the ultimate people who are they're learning the hardest lesson now. They're in that's their master class, so to speak.
Right.
Um, or is it the other way? Did I start out having really rough and I've worked my way up to this point and I'm more enlightened now? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea if what I'm saying is complete gibberish and none of it exists. But but if we were to give trophies to people for being good people, um, I think that would be the opposite of what we're here for, and what
Right.
that person meant to do. To be honest with you, I love this is why I love humble people, man. I don't know why I'm drawn to that. I just am. I don't like anybody that kind of puffs their chest out and you know. some people need that, man. Some people got to puff their chest out to get through life, and so it's not a slight at them, but it's why I love like talk about sports people like Barry Sanders is someone who just like
Oh yeah.
always appealed to me. And he get into the end zone. He never had a single celebration in the end zone ever. He ran the ball in, he handed the ball to the ref, ran back to the bench. He was on his way to breaking the rushing record in the NFL and retired because he's like he didn't feel it anymore. You know, like I believe that's what happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I don't think he ever broke the actual record. Maybe he did, but it,
Uh,
but he retired in his prime. He got out.
he retired way too early, for sure.
Um, but again, there's something about that, man. It's like, I feel like personally, man, with me, like I feel like I have a higher purpose past being a bass player in a band. Like I feel like there's something I'm supposed to accomplish still in my life that I haven't figured out or gotten to. Not that I'm going to stop doing that, but I do feel like there's a calling for me. I've been, you talk about the Holy Spirit or the voice that talks to you, speaks to you that's not your voice. I've I've been told, by that voice a couple of times, very briefly, very brief things, very brief messages that, you know,
You know what's
that I
crazy
probably,
with
that I probably, yeah, go ahead.
Barry Sanders? He retired like 1,400 yards just short of Walter Payton's current record,
Right.
which
That's
Evan
what I
Smith
mean.
eventually beat. But his retirement, he also lost out on 20.9 million in collective salary and bonuses, along with millions of dollars of endorsements. His head wasn't just in the game,
Yeah.
he said. It's wild to me.
Yeah. 1,400 yards, man. He would have gotten that. He could have
Uh,
gotten that in a
2 years,
season.
not
Well,
even. You're right.
he could have gotten that in a season.
Correct.
That seems ridiculous, but that guy was amazing. But I just love the fact that he played the game. There was none of this like flamboyant peacock like, you know, I'm just I've never been drawn to that at all in any sort of sense, man. I
Well,
like the humble, I like the
I
person that keeps their head down and works hard.
like you, I don't like talking about myself. Like when I do other
Yeah.
podcasts or like people ask me, "Oh, tell me about the podcast." I hate talking about it.
Yeah, man.
And it's like it's not because I'm not proud of what I've done. I think it's pretty remarkable considering I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I've told the story so many times, and like the only person I need to tell myself was myself.
Hmm.
And like I'm the only one that really needs to know how I started, why I'm here, or how I got this far. But like when people like, and I feel bad because I don't. The people that ask that they genuinely care,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to slight them or make them feel bad or like that's a dumb thing to ask. 'Cause I get super passionate about talking about it, but I'm also don't like talking. It's such a weird. I know. I just don't like. Oh, you did this back in the day. What was that like? It's like, oh, it was a job. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess my thing too, man, is like I haven't impressed myself yet,
Okay, so maybe
right?
that's what I've right.
I'm not impressed by me at all. Like there's nothing like I am the most unimpressive like if I ever get to that point where and I'm not to say there aren't moments where I don't give myself credit for things. Like I literally will like if I do something, I will literally pat myself on the back. I'll say, take a second, pat yourself on the back, keep moving forward. And those are very brief, fleeting things that happen. But I'm not impressed by me. And so I don't see why anybody else should be impressed by me either. So I don't know why you're interested in what I do because it's not interesting. Like I'm not interesting. None of this is interesting. It's not impressive. It's not interesting. Uh, Maybe if I can ever arrive at a point where, and I'm not saying in a cocky way, but if I can ever arrive at a point where like I feel like I've done something impressive, then maybe I won't mind talking about it to somebody. But you're right, man. It's hard when someone wants to know, like, you know. And I'm not gonna say that like like there are a lot of people who have done a lot for me who in our band sphere, from my bandmates to you to Ed to Carter to Drew and Rim and Ricky backline and Hoogie and all these people who have done everyone does impressive things to make this show go off, right? And to make this thing happen. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not saying that that's not interesting to people and it shouldn't be interesting to people. I have a hard time talking about anything I've done because I'm not impressed with myself personally, and so it just doesn't like, can we just move on to something else,
Yeah. Like when you do a show like this, like you're in the limelight because you're hosting it, but when it comes to talking about it, you're kind of like, I don't want to be the star of my own show.
Well, people ask me like, I had people ask me about the podcast, like, so what do y'all do? It's like, I don't know. We just literally don't talk about it.
There's
Like we
no
have,
planning. The only
par-
planning is, hey, are you available?
well, and honestly, man, when we have tried to plan about talking about something, we don't ever talk about it. It becomes stressful at that point. We wanted to talk about MH370, right? And so then I felt like I needed to go do a bunch of research on it and look up all this stuff, and it became stressful and pressure. And it's like that's not going to be genuine, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, we could do some specialty shows, but I feel like if we're gonna do specialty shows, I better know everything about this thing that we're going to talk about. And I really just don't know much about much. I just kind of run my mouth about whatever comes to my brain. So. Um, you know, that's what the podcast is just literally there is no plan. There is no like I hit you up. We're gonna do a live episode at some point
Yeah,
soon.
I figured that out. I know the system in place. I know what we
We
need to do. It's gonna be
we were
badass.
we were thinking about doing it tonight, but that didn't work out with the schedules. So I hit you up yesterday evening. I was like, hey, can you record one in the morning? And you're like, yeah, 9 o'clock. I'm like, sure, cool. And that's it. That's our show prep. That's all there is.
But
I don't know
that,
what we're gonna talk about.
but I like the fact that that's how organic it is. Like there is no agenda whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to let a little time go by. It's hard to do. We've done a couple episodes a week before, in one week, and had some built up in the pipeline. But lately we haven't been because we've been busy. But sometimes that's hard to get, because you have to let a little time go by before you hit the next one, so you have something to talk about. Maybe some stuff's happened or
Right.
whatever.
But I think doing the live show, incorporating actual questions coming in real time, will actually add a new element to this because now we have to be super careful what we say because there's like a 4 to 6 second delay. But I mean, I don't think we'll say
Well, man, we don't. I mean, we haven't edited. The only things we've ever edited out of these, if you see the screen blip or something happen, it's either something technical has happened, or uh, that's all
Fauci.
it is.
Yeah.
Either something technical has happened, or one of us had to get up for a second, or that's the only thing. That's all we edit out of these. I'm
I
just like,
I know because I know we have to get going, but to end this, I shared my friend Mina Caputo, Life of Agony,
yep,
transgender, very outspoken.
yep,
She put up a meme the other day of basically Fauci. It says we're all just beagles to him. End this charade, whatever it was, and I
yeah,
shared it on my uh, Instagram.
hmm
99.9% of people like fuck hell yeah. This one person's messaged me. It was like, I never thought I thought you were someone that would be intolerant to other people's feelings and beliefs, but I guess you're one of those deniers, vax deniers. And I politely wrote back, and I've known this person for a couple of years, and they're kind of in and out of the industry, and I go, you know what? I'm not saying uh, how you should feel or how you should think or what you believe in. If you believe the sky is green and what, dude, I'll pump out to you. But if for the life of me, if you're still going to stand behind this last couple of years and what the science is actually telling you right now, that is wholeheartedly on you. And I
yeah.
don't need you in my circle. If you're going to be, you're the only person that's upset by this. You don't know he killed dogs. Did
He
you
killed
see all
dogs.
did you see all the testing, all the beagles he murdered and signed off
Yeah,
on, and all
yeah,
this bullshit he did with the pandemic and all this crap
yeah,
coming out now? So I'm just like, you know what? It got me thinking. I texted Mina. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I lost a good follower today,
yeah.
and she was like, yo, fuck those people. And
Dude,
so it just I,
my my
back
th
to
my thing. Well, my thing is this is, and this is just me personally. I'm not saying there aren't people out
yeah,
there who would do that, but like I'm not going to, and
announce
I have not, and I will not lose friends because they do believe in that stuff. Like
right.
I
What?
don't like, maybe you and I can't. Here's the thing. Maybe me and that person can't have. Maybe we should have a debate or something, but maybe it's something where it's like, hey, look, we can't talk about this stuff, okay? But like, it doesn't mean that I don't want to be your friend. And Man, I just I can't imagine losing a look, it's no secret that I'm not the biggest Joe Biden fan, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I had a friend, and I do have friends, I'm sure, I just don't ask most of the time, who love Biden probably, or
Yeah.
love what the Democrats are doing, love the wars in Ukraine, love all this stuff, right? And it's like,
Oh yeah.
okay, I'm not going to not be your friend because of that, though.
Right.
Like, because hopefully, to go back to what we said earlier, our friendship has more to do with us getting along and us loving each other as people than than whether or not I took a vaccine, or and you did and I didn't, and you thought you were right and I thought I was right. Who cares? Like,
Who cares?
here's the thing, man. If I'm right and the vaccine has, it caused problems, then and you took it, then you might have to deal with some problems. If you're right and I didn't take it and I got COVID pretty badly a couple of times and I have complications down from COVID, which I do, then okay. That makes you right. That's fine. I don't understand why we have to browbeat people about this stuff. It's like, look, I if you really look into our government hard enough, you're gonna see a lot of shit you don't like. And I just can't be
Lot.
on board with that, man. Like there are very, very few people that I am aware of and have become aware of who are really trying to do great things and do good work in government. And there are people doing that who who do mean well. Um, Most of them don't, and so I can't. That's why I don't stump for politicians, man. I just don't, and I won't. I won't do it. I won't. I won't. I won't be in your political ad. I won't flyer for you. I won't. Even my friends who are politicians, man, who like I know who they are. Like I know who they are in their soul, and I would love to feel like I could put myself out on a limb and
Of course.
help them. But at the same time, it's like I don't believe in the system. That part of the system of the individual uh, being infallible enough because people are going to let you down. I'm going to let down fans at some point. I'm going to say something, do something, think something, write something that's going to piss off people, just like you did, because we're human beings, and that's what we do. And if we start treating, and we don't even start treating people who treat politicians or public servants as religious figures. Even people who treat religious figures as religious figures. The Pope. I have no time for the Pope. I just don't. I have no time for
Correct.
for sanctifying a man who is just a dude who's probably done a bunch of terrible shit and or maybe hasn't. But you're just a person. That's all you are. You're no better than me. None
Yeah.
of you.
I don't even
And
think
I'm
he's a
no
good Christian.
and I'm no better than any of you. This goes back to my thing about like Brent. I may have talked about this before, but Brent occasionally in the past, he hasn't done it recently, but like I remember we were going in to talk to Rob Cavallo about the record, and at one point we were meeting with him or something, and I told Brent like before, like dude, I'm impressed by his work. His work is great, but like I'm not going to kiss somebody's ass because they've done good work. Like, I want to meet the person. I want to be, and he and I had this conversation. So we're getting ready to walk into the studio, and he grabs me and he goes, "Do me a favor, be nice." And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be a dick to the guy. I'm just not going to kiss his ass. I'm not going to kiss somebody's ass ever. Like, and it's it, and maybe but if you're like, if we get along, man, and you're a good person, because I'm going to walk into every situation being humble and being being myself. And if you can meet me there, we're gonna get along just fine, man. Um, but so like we have somebody like the Pope. It's like why I don't revere the Pope. I don't respect the Pope because he's been given this title. You know, he's the head of one of the most corrupt countries in the world. You know, and so I have no. Now that's not a shot at Catholics. Like religion is I am not taking a shot at someone's religion at all.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about the way that we deify people. They're just
Correct.
people. He's just a person. He has no more connection to God than I do at the end of the day.
Correct.
I don't care what you're told. So, um, I so when it comes to politicians and that sort of thing, man, I don't I'm not going to do the same thing with them. I'm not going to respect you. You know, this whole thing about respect the president of the United States. I don't care who the president is. I don't care if it was Ronald Reagan or Joe Biden or Donald Trump or George Washington. Yes, I respect our country and I respect what that office means. But like if I were to meet the president, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, Mr. President, how are
Oh
you, sir?
yeah.
Oh, fuck off. You're a fucking dude, you know? Like I'm sorry. That's just how I think about it, man. And I think about myself in the same way. I am no better than anybody else. You know, I always say I get paid to be a rock star for 2 hours a night. And when I get off stage, I'm just a dude again. I just, I'm there to entertain you for 2 hours. I'm there to be larger than life. I will do that. When
Right.
that's over with, it's over with, you know? And that's why I don't understand the rock star walking around with air, putting on airs and the cockiness and the arrogance of people in our business and in Hollywood and stuff. It's all insecurity. All that shit is just fucking insecurity. And look, I've fallen into it too. I've had insecure moments. I think we all do in this business, but hopefully I'm self-aware enough to realize it and squash it and do away with it. But um yeah, man. So people that get bent out of shape because you didn't fall in line with what the politician said or the science said, it's like, all right, dude, if you're gonna act like that, then I guess we're not friends. But I'm never gonna act like that towards someone else.
Right.
I can't imagine. I can't like. Yeah, I've got opinions about it. Yes, I think that if you are that person who is a shill for something and you think that that everyone in everyone in Washington has your best interest in mind and all this stuff. It's like that's shallow thinking for sure. Um, am I going to think differently about you about your intelligence level? Yeah, maybe, but I'm not gonna fucking be an asshole to you about it or tell you that we can't be friends or chastise you for thinking a certain way. I mean, I've got uh uh I've got people that I'm friends with that I can think of two people right now actually who when I see them in person, man, I have such a love for these people. And like I'm happy to see them and I give them hugs and how are you? So good to see you. Let's talk. And we have great conversations. But then I look at what they post on Instagram and it could not be more opposite from me. And whether that's, spiritually, politically, whatever. I mean, and they dig in hard, man. They have hard, hard opinions about things, unapologetic. But yet when I see them, that's the last thing on my mind. I actually love the fact that difference is there.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if they would feel the same way about me, you know? And that's what's unfortunate about it. I think that sometimes there's that it does that's what makes me sad is when the experience you had where it's like, oh, I can't be friends with you anymore because I found out you're this and this and it's like, okay, I guess,
Yeah.
but I would hope that these people that I'm thinking of wouldn't see me in that way, but I don't
I
know,
was just more upset at the fact that sometimes some memes can be on the nose, or maybe that there's not all fact there, but it's proven fact he signed off on the killing of beagles for testing, and
yeah.
this person thought I was just putting some bullshit meme shared up there. And I was just like, dude, do your research. Would you?
Well, yeah,
Do
we call them meme and headline readers.
ah,
There are people who all they do is they'll read the headline or they'll read the meme and that's it. And they don't go any further than that. So whatever that meme or headline says is what is true, or whatever that meme or headline says is wrong. There is
correct.
no there is no digging in to figure it out. And you will often find out that there's a lot more nuance. Like I've fallen prey to that where I'm like, and in fact, if I read something that I'm like, or I see a headline that's like someone's put
This
together,
sounds too crazy,
I
right?
was like, I'm gonna have to look into this. And a lot of times, I am I don't know whether to be pleasantly surprised or pleasantly disappointed, or to find out that what they said wasn't true. But that's important, and I don't let that stuff fly. Like if I and then if I hear someone else sort of, you know, uh, 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 disseminating that going forward, I have to stop and like, hang on a second. I read that it wasn't true. That's not what it is. It's this, this, and this, you know. And you can kind of see them get dejected because they thought they had the thing, you know. But I was going to send you something the other day that I saw, and I was like, before I send this, let me see what this is about because I don't ever want to send you something that like unless it's like I know it to be I've read about it or whatever, even if it's just a headline or a meme or
Yeah.
something. And I read about it and it was a bunch of BS. It wasn't true, and I was like, oh, that sucks. I was going to send him that, but rather than I mean, the last thing I want to do is you know is throw disinformation around knowingly,
Yeah.
you know. Unknowingly, I'll do it all day.
Yeah. I'll start right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to end it.
Cool.
Awesome people.